ASMR story of my Jack Russell Terrier. We were in the process of grieving my lab, Magnum, who didn't have very long to go, and my mom believed it would ease the grieving process if we got another dog, but we didn't want to feel like we were replacing Magnum, so we didn't get another large dog. Instead, we got a little firecracker named Ruger, who is a Jack Russell Terrier. Jack Russell Terriers were bred to hunt foxes. The best way to describe a Jack Russell Terrier is they're like a mini Belgian Malinois. They're little pocket rockets, they're little Tasmanian devils. So when we got him, Mom got him out of the car and I was super excited to meet him. And the first thing that we went to do was introduce him to Magnum. But Magnum, or Ruger, I can't remember, growled and we had to separate them from a gate. But gradually, we were able to introduce them and they got along. Magnum, thankfully, was a very easygoing dog, like most labs. And they got along, and they basically lived together. Every morning, Ruger would go downstairs and lick Magnum's face, and then run outside with him, and Magnum would hobble around the old man that he was. So, basically, as the time came, Magnum was on his last legs, and we had to schedule an appointment to put him down. And the process was it was cathartic to be able to go in there with him, but it was crushing brutally. I remember motioning for Magnum to get in the car, and he jumped in the car thinking we were going somewhere, like going to the water or something, and he was so happy. But really, we were going to put him down. And I bawled my eyes out inside the car, and I'm trying to keep myself from crying now. And we went, and I was with him, with Mom, the entire time, crying. And I think I was hugging him, which I shouldn't have done because hugging makes dogs feel uncomfortable, but I just wanted to let him know that I loved him. And after he passed away, I watched the life go from his eyes. And when I came home, Ruger was there to greet us. And Ruger had only known him for some months, but I think Ruger knew him enough to grieve it. So after I had Magnum put down, it was just me and him. So I basically lived his life out with him. And I'd take him across the road pretty much every day and throw the ball with him. I'd take him out for like 2 or 3 hours of walking because as a Jack Russell Terrier, he had a lot of energy, and I'd take him biking and have him run alongside me with a harness on. Not that he'd pull the bike, just run alongside me. And I'd do all this. So many fun things with him, so many memories. I remember taking him to throw a ball in the lake, and he'd go and chase it. He was almost like Magnum reincarnated with how much he loved swimming. So he's basically been my best friend for a long time. Over 8 years. I'm pretty sure he's either 11 or turning 11 very soon. And the greatest memories I have with him, well, one was funny in hindsight, but at the time was terrifying. There were deer in the field, and he was off leash, and he chased after them. And I thought he'd chase after them just a bit and run back, but oh no, he must have chased them for half a kilometer. And I thought he was going to be wolf bait or kicked to death by a deer, and I was petrified. And when he came back and I found him, I was crying because I was so relieved that he wasn't dead or hurt severely. And I loved him. And I love him now. Another good memory we had was with a husky whippet mix that we went to the park with, and we threw the ball together and they had a blast together. Another funny memory was we were on my mom's farm and they owned a Shiloh Shepherds. Shiloh Shepherds are basically an unrecognized breed that mixes German Shepherds and Alaskan Malamutes. And those dogs came charging out, and at first Ruger ran to confront them, but then he saw he was outnumbered. There was 3 of them. So then he ran away like a coward, barking. And at the time, and in hindsight, it was pretty funny, but at the time, it was pretty terrifying. I used to let him off leash on a private trail, and he'd run wild. He was lovely and beautiful and all these things. And he's a lovely, beautiful guy now, isn't he? A good boy. I was getting back into dog training, working dog stuff. And on really cold days, what I used to do was play Find It with him. So I'd hide the ball in the house. I taught him how to play that game, and he'd find the ball, and then he'd get to chew the ball for a bit, and then I'd eventually have to pry it from his jaws, and then we'd go and play again for about 5 rounds or 10 rounds until he was done. The thing about Ruger is, even though he had spurts of energy, if it was in the hot summer and you took him and you played fetch for 5 minutes, he was done. He's extremely docile. He was and still is extremely docile for a Jack Russell Terrier, but when he sees a trigger, like a squirrel, he goes ballistic. There was one time when I took him across the road to the school to play fetch. He saw a squirrel, and he went crazy and went after it, and he got a hold of it. And then at first I was a little bit proud of him, but then he started shaking the thing, and then I was like, no, Ruger, let go. And then the squirrel let out this cat-like meow. It sounded like a cat, and Ruger let it go because he knows he's not supposed to go after cats. And he would harass our cat Gilligan until Gilligan would go after him and swat at him. And he would just keep going back for more because he was a little shit. I know these are random stories that aren't in any sequential order, but it is what it is. So now Ruger is 10 years old. All these years later. And I was getting into working dog stuff, but he didn't have the drive. He has a drive, but I noticed he didn't have the same spunk that he used to. And I wanted a dog I could do sports with, dog sports with. When I say dog sports, I don't mean the horrible stuff like dog fighting. I mean Schutzhund, IPO, IPG, French ring, agility, that kind of stuff. But he just didn't have the spunk that he used to. So I looked for a working dog that I could do stuff with. And I found Larsa, and I eventually got her. But it turns out that dog is very unstable and very insecure, so I can't let her off leash. I can't really do anything outside of the backyard. His drive is still through the roof. If he saw a mouse or a squirrel, he'd go ape boop and kill it. He is a very good dog, and it's unfortunate that Larsa and him can't get along because I'd love to take them and do stuff with both of them, but I have to do stuff with them separately. And right now he's just chilling on my bed, laying down, being a very sweet boy. And I adore him. I worship the ground he walks on. He's a little shit who takes advantage of it, but I love him nonetheless. You're a good boy, Ruger. You're a good boy. I love you. over to my mom's every day to take care of Larsa, and I have gates set up so they don't murder each other, and I tend to both of them. When mom's away for work, I just spend time with Ruger in the front room, much to Larsa's dismay. Larsa doesn't like it, but oh well. And then when mom comes home, I'll go and hang out with Larsa, because there's someone to keep Ruger company. And then I'll come, and then eventually I'll walk Ruger back to my apartment, which is about 15 minutes tops away from my mom's. I'll walk him back here. And these days, I found out the reason why his drive wasn't as high as it was because he's having breathing problems related to his liver, they believe. And you can hear that the way he's breathing now, it isn't the greatest. And I'm very worried about him. And we can't figure out exactly what's wrong for him. And I'm really worried, because Jack Russells, I was told, can live up to 17 years, and that's what I wanted. I don't want him to go. I love him very much. But the vets can't seem to figure out what's wrong with him, so I wish things could be different. You know? And I was just getting back into dog training now. I could do so much more with him. And I could give him so much. He already had a good life before, but I could even give him even better life. But this health problem has made it so I have to minimize the exercise I give him and be very careful when playing fetch and stuff, so he couldn't go full tilt like I know he wants to. He still has a lot of spirit. His soul is still bright, but his body is old. And it's just so unfortunate. But 11 years old, which is around his age, is the earlier end of the lifespan for a Jack Russell Terrier. I wish things could be different. I love him. I want to take him out in the woods with Larsa and let them both go loose and run, chase after each other and have fun, but I can't, because I know that, well, Larsa might rip him to shreds, or he might rip her to shreds, go after her ear or something, so I can't do that. So this is the best arrangement I can do for both of them. And I always believe that your first priority should be to your first dog. I agree with Robert Kripal here. I think it's really, really, really wrong of people to get a new dog and then rehome or put down their old dog because they're in the way. I think that's twisted. If you have a new dog and they don't get along with your old dog, you rehome the new dog, and you keep the old dog. But fortunately it hasn't come to that, so I've been able to keep them both, which I really like because I love them both. I just wish I could be in the same room as them and do all this cool stuff with them, but I can't. I am giving both my dogs the best life I can, and I think Ruger knows that I love him. He knows that I think he's adorable, and I think he's the cutest little man in the world. But he's also a little shit. But guess what? If I had known more about dog training, I could have turned him into a better dog that was better with other dogs. Now, he's alright with dogs if he meets them off leash and they're cool. He's cool. We have him off leash at the groomers, hanging out with the other dogs, and he puts up with them licking his face and getting in his face and all that. But if the other dog shows any nonsense, goes after him in any way,